She didn't hesitate. That was the part I noticed first, not what she said, but how easily she said it, like the role had already been assigned, like there had never been any other possibility. "I'll take care of everything," my sister told the relatives gathered in the living room, already sorting through documents, already fielding questions. "It's simpler this way." No one pushed back. That wasn't unusual. She had always been the one who stepped forward first. Organized, confident, quick with answers. People trusted that kind of certainty, even when it came without explanation. I stayed near the edge of the room, listening more than participating. When someone asked about the will, she didn't show it, just nodded, like the details were already settled somewhere beyond discussion. Later, when it was just the two of us, I asked a simple question. "Did Grandpa name you executor?" She didn't look up from the folder in her hands. "Yes," she said. "It's already being handled." There was no pause, no adjustment, just a clean, immediate answer. I could have asked to see it then. I didn't. Instead, I waited. The next few days filled with decisions I wasn't part of. Accounts were being reviewed. Assets were being secured. Conversations happened without me and then arrived summarized, simplified, already resolved. When I did ask something, the answers came back shorter each time. "You'll get what you're given," she said once, almost casually, as if she were offering reassurance. It didn't feel like reassurance. It felt like a boundary I hadn't agreed to. Still, I didn't argue. Not because I believed her, because I wasn't sure what exactly I didn't believe yet. That uncertainty stayed with me longer than anything else. Not suspicion, not anger, just a quiet misalignment between what was being said and how it felt. I started replaying small moments, the way she avoided specifics, how quickly she moved past questions, the absence of anything concrete. No document shown, no name confirmed, just an assumption that settled because no one challenged it. I realized something then. I had never actually seen the will, not once. The bank wasn't far. I didn't tell her I was going. There wasn't any reason to. I wasn't making an accusation. I was just checking. Inside. Everything felt ordinary. Fluorescent lighting, muted voices, the low rhythm of transactions moving along like they always did. I approached the desk and explained, as simply as I could, that I wanted to review the estate file connected to my grandfather. The banker nodded, asked for identification, then turned to his screen. There was no tension yet, just procedure. He clicked through a few windows, his expression neutral, focused. "All right," he said quietly. "Let me pull that up." I stood there, hands resting lightly against the counter, watching the reflection of the screen in his glasses more than the screen itself. A few seconds passed, then something changed, not dramatically. Just a pause that didn't belong. He leaned slightly closer to the monitor, scrolling back, then forward again. He glanced at me briefly, like he was recalibrating something. "Just a moment," he said. His tone was still professional, but slower now. He turned the screen slightly toward himself, then adjusted something again, another click, another pause. And then he turned the screen toward me. "That's not the executor," he said. He didn't need to say the name. I saw it. It wasn't hers. For a second, I thought maybe there was more than one document. Maybe something had been updated. Maybe I was looking at an earlier version. "That's the current file?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "This is the most recent legal documentation on record." My chest didn't tighten. My thoughts didn't race. It was stranger than that. Everything slowed down, like the question I'd been carrying quietly had just resolved itself, and now I had to decide what to do with the answer. The banker didn't turn the screen back. He kept looking at it, scrolling. "There's also," he hesitated slightly, then opened another page. This one had more detail, more structure. He leaned in, reading carefully, then he stopped. His hand hovered over the mouse, unmoving. For a moment, he didn't speak. When he did, his voice was lower. "This changes everything." I didn't respond right away. I was still looking at the name, not hers, someone else's, someone neither of us had mentioned. There was also a clause, clear, specific, and recent, outlining conditions for how the estate was to be handled. Conditions that didn't match anything she had told me. "Can I get a copy of this?" I asked. He nodded. "Of course." Walking out of the bank, the world didn't look different. Cars still moved the same way. People still passed by without noticing anything unusual, but something had shifted, not around me. Inside the structure of what I thought I understood, my sister hadn't just taken control. She had assumed it into existence, and no one, including me, had asked her to prove it. When I got home, she was at the dining table, surrounded by papers. She looked up briefly. "Where were you?" "Out," I said. She nodded, already returning to what she was doing. For a moment, I just stood there, watching, trying to see her without the weight of assumption. She looked the same, certain, in control, but now I could see the edges of it, the parts that depended on no one checking. I didn't confront her. Not then. I set the envelope from the bank on the counter and left it unopened for a while. Not because I didn't want to look at it again, because I already knew what it said. The question wasn't about the document anymore. It was about what came next. That night, I sat alone and finally went through the copies, every page, every line. It was all there, clear, structured, undeniable. There was no room for interpretation, just a quiet, steady truth. I thought about telling her immediately, about placing the papers in front of her and watching the moment her certainty broke. But that didn't feel right, not because I wanted to protect her, because I didn't need that moment. The shift had already happened. She just didn't know it yet. Over the next few days, I listened more carefully to what she said, to what she avoided. Nothing had changed on her side. She was still operating as if everything belonged to her decisions. But now, every statement carried a kind of fragility, not obvious, but there. I realized something I hadn't expected. Knowing the truth didn't make me feel powerful. It made me feel separate. Like I had stepped outside of something that was still continuing without me. Eventually, there would be a conversation. There would have to be. The documents would surface. The roles would be clarified. The control she held would shift. Legally, visibly, permanently. That part was inevitable. But in that moment, sitting with the papers in front of me, I understood something more immediate, the relationship we had. Whatever shape it had taken over the years was already changing, not because of what I would say, because of what I now knew. I placed the documents back into the envelope and set it aside. There was no urgency anymore, just a quiet, steady awareness, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself to be real. And for the first time since all of this started, I wasn't trying to catch up to her version of events. I was waiting, not passively, just on my own terms.